What is going on, everybody? If you know me, then you know that for a very, very long time, I was a big fan of Saitama. And through most of 2022, when a lot of people were dumping on it, I was still positive, still producing content that started to get a little more negative as time went by. And to the point that I stopped covering. And every once in a while, I come back and revisit. So today, we're going to revisit Saitama. Spoiler alert here. I have not reviewed anything on Saitama for a while. I'm going to give you, to the best of my ability, the most objective opinion I have on what it is that they've produced so far, which, by the way, has been fairly substantial in comparison to many, many other projects that are out here in these ecosystems. So, without further ado, we're going to jump right in and we're going to check price action, and we'll start there. Right now, trading at 90.57 with a market cap of $40 million. Now, the last time I covered it, the market cap was $40 million, and it did pump up to about an $80 million, almost $120 million market cap at the last time we were having a video. If you go back and check my logs, you'll probably see that I was doing something around this time over here before this spike. And what I told everybody who would listen was, I think there's going to be a spike here because this seems to be about the spot where there's going to be some sort of move towards the upside. And of course, that's what ended up happening. Now, taking into consideration, there really was a nice little pump. It happened. It stayed up there, corresponded with the rest of the markets, but then it continued to start dumping back down to the downside. Now, I was in a AMA, I want to say, or Twitter Spaces just recently, where I heard some of the developers were kind of talking about, well, maybe we don't have our eye on the prize, or maybe we take our eye off the prize for a short period of time because we're trying to get a lot of things done. So let's look at the lot of things done and let's get an idea of what's going on right here. Now, I do want to point out, in relation to this chart, as you can see, there really has been starting up here and moving along here. Now, I'm not using this top over here because I think that's kind of a breakout. And I don't think that's I'm using where we've settled most of the time, all the way up and down here. And then the same thing over here. I use this kind of trajectory here. And then surprise, surprise, this is where these things tend to happen, right? So spoiler alert, when we get to the end of this, by the way, I do think Saitama is poised for another breakout from this little downward sort of momentum. If you had gotten in, I want to say this, if you gotten in over here at this 85.79 number, just down in this little spot right here, if you had gotten in over here and you had ridden this all the way up to the top, you would have about 3.5x'd your money at that time. So if you had put in $10,000, you had $35,000, $40,000 at that point. So there is some tremendous upside, and there will be moments where these things happen. This is not the market for it right now. The first reason for that, by the way, is because there is a buy and sell tax on a token, and that's not what's running the markets right now. But we'll get into that in just a little while. First up, so the first thing we're going to do is get onto the website, and most predominantly that you see on it, cite a card. That's the big one. That must be where the money's made for the team. That must be where things are happening that generate the revenue, right? Because again, if you go back over here and you look at the volume really doesn't support more than $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a day, which is a significant amount of money, sure, but there are expenses, and all of these things come with an expense. So the first thing we're going to lean into is going to be Site a Card, then we're going to get Site a Realty, Site a Logistics, and then Site a Swap on down the line. Site a Pro, I'll explain in a moment. First of all, Site a Card. Site a Card is right here. You have the black card, the diamond card, the gold card. I'm not currently a holder. I might be at some point in the future. I'm just currently not a holder. Application fee over here, $199, $149, or $99. No annual fees. Your spending limit is $50,000, $25,000, or $10,000. Minimum deposit is $20 US across the board. And the card top-up fees are 3.5%, 4, and 4.5%, which means that the fees that they're charging you is when you transfer something over, they're taking a percentage of what it is that you're putting over. And that is a significant amount, I do have to add. You put $10,000 onto your card, and they're taking 3.5%. So consider that, consider 3 or 4% of your transaction is going into their pockets when it's transferring over. That's not cost prohibitive because it's cryptocurrency, but in the long run, it is cost prohibitive depending on the cryptos. Now, Saitama, USDT, ETH, BNB, USDC. And if you're using USDT or USDC, you are actually seeing that percentage coming out when you're topping it up. So, bear in mind when you're doing this, that there is an expense involved, and that expense does go back to the developers. Now, most of these, I assume they're going to sell on the open market. Maybe not. Maybe they're going to continue to hodl it for a little while, knowing, and if they don't need the capital, this would be a great thing for Saitama. If they don't need the capital and they're able to hold on to all of these tokens, including Mathematic, AVAX, Luna, SHIB, ADA, XRP, Matic, Solana, Huobi, Doge, if they're able to hold on to these for an extended period of time, then this could be an incredible boon. But I don't know what's going on with what they're doing. Like, where's the money? Are they holding? Are they selling? What's the money going to? So I do have a question when it comes down to this. Is the team being paid? How much is the team being paid? What's the, what are the numbers? Show me some numbers so that I have an idea of what's going on. Now, moving on to Cider Realty, $5 million market cap, according to CoinGecko, which we're using today for this purpose. White paper, there is a white paper, an ideal, again, clean site. We're talking about the Cider Realty token at this point, but we do have Cider City here, which is a real estate market simulator in the metaverse. And then we have Fang Art, which appears to be part of this. However, from what I did see, it was not part of it on the main page. It was something separate for their art. But because of this Cider City, I assume that there's going to be a merger or an integration of that right now. But we're going to look at the volume trading on Cider Realty too, by the way, so that you guys can see that. And we'll be looking at that when we look at Cider Swap and Pro, et cetera, et cetera. But you also have Cider Logistics. Now, this right here, fantastic. This is, to me, this represents what could be just a game changer for Saitama, Cider Logistics. Now, here's the thing. Other than us talking about this crypto, other than us just kind of going over this, like, I have no idea what their volume is. I have no idea what's going on with it. This is one of those things that's a real world use case, and I don't see any numbers here. So I have no idea how successful or unsuccessful this is. If you look it up online, you don't see any information either. So if they're making a killing on this, you don't know. If they're making no money on it, you also don't know. So there's some open windows here that we really like to see, I'm sure, close. Now, coming over to Swap, which is part of Cider Pro, obviously, in some way, $55,916 in 24-hour trading volume. That is absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. With the volume being Saitama, Jasmine, Cider Realty, and then Wrapped Luna over here with some of this other stuff, Tether Wrap, Bone, in the hundreds of dollar range. Now, that's not all. You have the BSC side as well, which is over here. And you see the volume is in the, there's nothing more than $1,000. So as far as Cider Swap goes, this is not very good as a number overall. And it's currently ranked on the DeFi exchanges. It's currently ranked about 150 something. If I go down here to some of these numbers in the rankings, then you'll see that Cider Swap is currently listed at number 168 overall, meaning that Sushi Swap, Phantom, and some of these other ones are really passing it out. Now here's the other thing, and I want to say this because I think that it's important. I don't see any advertisement for Cider Swap, for Cider Pro. I don't see it. Now, it could be that I'm in a section of Twitter in which that doesn't happen, but generally speaking, I'm just not really seeing it. So it could be something where I'm just missing it. But then we get over here to Cider Swap, and we're looking at trading volume over here. Now we get a different number over here. We're getting 91,000 as opposed to the number that I gave you over here, 55,000 and a couple hundred on this other one. Still not over 100,000. And if you consider a 0.1% maker fee, which seems to be about reasonable for this market, this thing is generating less than $1,000 a day. It's almost not worth having. Now, how much does it cost to list on Cider Pro? How much is being made off of each crypto in Cider Pro? That becomes the question on whether or not this is viable or whether it's usable. And I don't know the answer because they're not open about this. So I don't know whether or not this is a good or bad thing. Now, with all of that being said, Saitama Realty liquidity is 226,000, meaning their market cap is somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million as a total market cap. And if that is the case, then it would stand to reason that there's been some success. Now, the question is, what's been done with that success? Now, obviously, there's been some drama, et cetera, concerning the team. But let's go back now to the chart and see where we are. Now, we've seen all of this happening over here. We've seen this in order to get your volume here, in order to have these pumps, in order to do all of this kind of stuff, you do need volume. And from the volume index, if you look at where everything is trading, you see these enormous spikes right here. These are bots and stuff like that, but you do see that even though it's very tough to see, you have to get into some of these other. The volume did not peak recently, but you see back here there was significantly more volume. This is a very dry sort of time, very dry sort of day, especially for taxed tokens. So the question becomes, you have to ask yourself, like, what exactly is going on with Saitama? And the answer is, it's tough to say. It is possible that they're absolutely crushing it. If they are, I don't know where, because if we were to just, for instance, go to the website, We Are Saitama, you can see Swap. You can see some information about Swap. You can come down here. You can see that MK is doing some stuff over here. You can see ePayMe and the Saita card. There's conversations. They are talking about some of these updates, but they're updates to the existing protocols. The existing stuff here, and your standard information that you would normally get. There's no financial details anywhere, so we have no idea how this is, right? Important update: Saita Realty tax reduction now only 5%, down from 9%. So consider the tax that they were making on a $5 million market cap token, with a decent amount of trading volume in a place where they were already getting money for a trading volume. And you can see here, I think that in many different ways, to use those numbers, come back over here and say, I think they really misjudged the market in some context here. Again, not to get too deep in the weeds, but certainly not to use a fib retracement. But when you start to dig in and you start to really look at this chart, you really start to get an idea of what's going on here. You can see that, this is eyes off the prize, but you might not be able to do anything about it in this market. Now, when I say that, if I were to compare this to a Bitcoin chart, or I was to compare this to almost any altcoin chart, they don't look like this. Okay. So there's something that did not click when the price had reached this level, because the price reaching this level should have oscillated. And just so you guys understand, if I remove this and I tell you what the Bitcoin chart did, if the Bitcoin is on what's called a parabolic curve cycle. So you've got this right here, then you've got this right here, then you've got another leg up, which is this area right here, which is where Bitcoin and Ethereum are right now. And they're about to go on a parabolic run up to the fourth level of a 5-circle cycle. And then that, of course, puts you up here, and it's not there, right? So something happened which brought this all kind of crashing back down. Now, I don't know what that is, and I don't know what the future holds. I can tell you what I see. What I see is what I saw before, like this right here. If you just kind of pay attention to what's happening here, this has all happened before. And at some point, it reverses, right? So I do think that there's a reversal that's imminent. I do think that the markets are a little bit wonky right now. Zero tax tokens being run by venture capital companies are all the rage right now. And it's very tough when you have taxes on your tokens to get people to come into a market where you can just gamble on other stuff. But those will kind of wane over time, and they'll dissipate over time. So then the question is, what can happen with Saitama? Well, I at one point I was pretty specific, and then I thought that Saitama is going to go on the run. That I've told you guys this over and over and over again, that there will be a moment where Saitama goes on a run. It's the question right now, where does that run go? So I would answer this, and I would say that if you're at a $40 million market cap right now, a 25x from here would be 1 billion. And I know a lot of you are probably looking at that saying $1 billion. You'd be happy with 40x. You should be happy, you should be happy with a 25x. But if you're already wrecked and you're down because you bought in at 2 or 3 or 4 billion, and your investment, which was a lot is now a little. Take some solace in knowing that if you've covered that money and you're in a good position, that maybe you can get back to $1 billion market cap. Cited logistics in and of itself, if properly promoted, it probably represents an opportunity for a lot, and I mean a lot. Cited card, I'm not that sure. Everybody has a card, so I don't know that that's going to be a needle mover. Everybody has a swap, so I'm not sure it's going to be a needle mover. Cited Pro, there's only a few tokens listed. Like there has to be more tokens listed. Now the reason it's not is because it's cost prohibitive for those tokens. So you have to ask yourself, at what point what's generating revenue? And if it's generating revenue, if you're an investor, do you know how much it's generating? Do you know how much is going on? I think these are questions, and these are fair questions that you as an investor should be asking yourself. And look, I'm on minute 16 of making this video, so I'm going to wrap this up right now. But I think that you have an opportunity at $1 billion market cap, maybe even $2 billion, if the market's right and sentiment sort of changes. I'm pretty sure that if Ethereum were sitting at its all-time high or somewhere reasonably near its all-time high right now, that your market cap would be at least 100 million, because that's just the way that it works when you're wrapped with Ethereum. So, but you would be, about 150% higher than you are right now, which puts you at 100 million. So that 100 million is kind of a base curve for me on that. So, I would feel comfortable at 40 million right now to say, if you had 10 grand that you put in at 40 million, it'd probably be worth 25, 30 million, 30,000 at some point in the future because of market conditions. But I don't know for sure. What I can say is that you should be asking some questions. You should be looking in. You should be getting answers from the team about all of these things. And if you don't get those answers, then don't invest. Hold your money. Don't do anything, because you can't have trading volume if you're not answering questions. You should probably ask some of these questions and find out, is the project that you are bullish about you? And the way that you know that is the passion by what they do. It's the passion by which they operate. And a lot of that comes down to the openness. Every company, every corporation, every entity in the United States of America, and I know that Saitama is now in Dubai, because you have to flee America, right? Not because you're Saitama, but because it's America, and America's basically bullshit at this. But you have to have some openness about, how much did Saitama Logistics generate in revenue, and where did the money go? Was it used to pay all of the developers? How much did they make? How much? What is the overhead? How many people are there? There are basic questions that every corporation has to answer quarterly to its stockholders, to its investors. You, as an investor, are a stockholder in this company, so you probably should be entitled to information about it. So if you're not asking that question, then maybe you should. And maybe, just maybe, at the end of it, you guys will be more comfortable with Saitama. You'll be happier with where you are and what your position is. And maybe, just maybe, the developers are going to moon this baby. Or not, but at least you would know at that point. So again, I think it's $1 billion project. I think it's a $2 billion project if everything works out perfectly. So 25 to 50x from where you are right now would be nothing. So why not take a shot, right? Don't put too much. Don't put too much risk. Manage your own process. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just saying that this is my opinion of what would happen. I am not currently an investor in Saitama, but I was just a short period of time ago. Made a few bucks, got back out because, again, I saw that this pump was not going to last. It always happens, right? So, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you don't like me, that's okay. If you like me, that's okay too. If you haven't already and you like the content, subscribe to it. 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. I do live streams. I do some on the weekends as well. If you want to know what's really going on in crypto, then I'm going to tell you what's really going on in crypto. If you want to know lies and other stuff, go check those other guys. This is not financial advice. My name's Believes. I'm always right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry this one took so long, but it's Saitama, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember to sign up for MEXC, BitGet, and NordVPN down in the links.
I'm looking for ways to get paid. I'm checking my coins around breakfast, then again around bedtime. Bet this.